I'm here with Xan Harding, who is a Hawke's Bay Regional Councillor. Kia ora, Xan, and thanks for joining me.
Sure, my pleasure. It's taken a while to get here, but we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Xan, anyone would say that it's been a busy year for the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and you went through quite a process with the long-term plan. Looking back at it, are you happy with the outcome or the way things turned out?
You can never be happy about sending ratepayers a pretty large increase, but I'm happy that we managed to bring it down, I think, from 18 something to 16%. I'm happy that we did the best we could in the circumstances, and the circumstances being essentially going straight from a flood response to a long-term plan response, and in fact a truncated one, a 3-year plan, really. So the cold hard reality is that everything we've done since the cyclone carries the effects of the cyclone with it. So it was whole planning process, which is even for the 3-year plan is huge, was the best we could do with our resources. Yeah. And I think along the way we managed to recognise that we do listen, and some people after perhaps the revenue and financing policy review may have been wondering a little bit, but I think we managed, even with some, still a very large increase. I hope that some people at least can see that we did listen, the likes of the Hawke's Bay Tourism and funding for maintenance of the peak.
The revenue and financing, obviously that was quite a contentious issue, and I don't think in all the years I've been in Hawke's Bay I've seen so much engagement from the public over something like that. Do you think that this was the move, the council decided to move from land-based to a capital-based rating system? Do you think in hindsight, given all the other things that have happened and obviously the big increase, do you think it was the right thing to do at the right time?
Well, to start off with, it was probably the right thing to do to carry on and finish off that process. That revenue and financing policy review was actually started in the previous trimester, so it was started more than 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Under a previous set of councillors. It's a massive job. It was essentially once in a generation ground-up review of the way that we apportion rates. And I can understand the commitment of councillors from the previous term who wanted to see that through, and not see the work that was wasted in the previous trimester. So I appreciate that. I personally think that with the benefit of hindsight and the experience of the cyclone, some of the decisions that were made under the previous term of council about apportionment would be made differently this time around. But even though I did not support the change from land value to capital value, personally, I support my fellow councillors in getting on and doing the job.
It has been, I think anyone would acknowledge that it has been a tricky time to be a councillor. Have you found these decisions have been quite heavy to make?
Look, you never take lightly spending other people's money. At least I hope nobody ever does that. Nobody saw the cyclone coming with the effects that it did. And so the way I see it is that we, right across Hawke's Bay in all walks of life, are doing the best we can in those circumstances. So I'm confident that my fellow councillors all have, a good heart, best intentions, and, are making the best decisions, judgments in circumstances.
Yeah. You voted for the long-term plan. You said you voted against the switch to capital rates, and that a lot of the growers out there, of which I think you're part of that community, haven't been happy with the switch and then also the long-term plan as well. How have you found that? Have you had a lot of people coming up to you and asking you about it? How have you found the feedback?
Well, look, I certainly had plenty of people ask me about it, and I understand. I mean, no one's ever happy with a cost increase, and it's fair to say that a lot of horticulturalists, as a result of where they live on the plains and their activities and their, you know, the capital value of their properties, they have been affected, you know, more than average. What I've tried to do along the way is provide people information so they can understand exactly where change is coming from. And I've done a talking point for Hawke's Bay Today in the past and other forms of communication to just try and explain that actually there were a whole lot of drivers. Certainly for some, capital value change was a big driver. In fact, that on average for the horticultural sector, it was pretty much neutral. The big losers out of that were in fact urban residents.
Yeah.
So that and the winners in that equation were the pastoral farmers.
Yeah. Now, the Twyford growers in particular have quite a reputation of being quite mobilised and political and that. And we saw 10 or so years ago where they actually replaced quite a few of the councillors who had voted in a way they didn't agree with. Does that worry you at all that there is this group out there that does have power to change the shape of the council?
My personal view is that you might be overestimating their influence. Look, I think, you know, next election is going to be very interesting. I mean, there's you know, understandably, a lot of people, for a whole range of reasons, don't feel that well disposed towards the council. I mean, we are responsible for flood protection. Flood protection systems failed, much more as a result of an event of historical proportions than any failings on the part of the council. But you know, we carry that responsibility. So that's obviously, and some people will want to see the ballot box respond to that in a similar way that capital value change is unpopular with some people, and they feel similarly. So, but I don't see the extent of the influence that you're suggesting. I simply don't see it. They're very vocal. The Twyford group's very vocal, but that's as far as I
go. Do you think the council's done a good job overall?
Yes, I do.
Well, what do you think for some of the good things you've done?
Look, for a start, we got on really quickly after the event with fixing the stop banks, the temporary fixes, more than 6 kilometres of actual breaks and stop banks. That was a huge job, and the staff did amazingly to do that, and you know, supported by other councils who sent teams in as well. So I think the council staff and councillors can be, and our chief executive can be really proud of that. Now, I think there's more than 20 kilometres of weekend stop bank that was also fixed. So that was an outstanding response. We did really well out of central government in negotiating an overall $250 million flood repair package, of which we only have to chip in 40 odd million, and in that got 70 million for Wairoa that no one managed to get out of Cyclone Bowler. So that's a great effort. Look, and just I have to say, we all really feel for what Wairoa are going through at the moment, and everybody's working as hard as they can to put everything right.
How do you feel about the attention that the council has come under because of Wairoa, because of the recent flooding, and you've got a government review under Mike Bush coming out I think in about a week's time. And then you've also got Lawrence Ewell being installed as a Crown manager as well. Is this a sort of an indication that the council has failed?
No, I don't see that. I think first and foremost, it's a credit to Mayor Little of Wairau that he manages to punch above his weight. And in terms of national profile, he does a great job of representing the interests of Wairau. Sometimes that's at the expense of regional council, and I would argue that that's unfairly at our expense. But I understand the circumstances. Secondly, when it comes to the Crown manager appointment, Lawrence. Great political operator. So it's a really good move for everybody. Regional council actually asked for someone to be put in, and we couldn't choose a better person, I think.
Okay, and how do you think it's going to end up in terms of? Do you think it is possible with 70 million to get a flood protection scheme that will survive the vagaries of climate change?
My looking glass is not that good to say what's going to survive the vagaries of climate change. However, the advice that I'm getting through council is that $70 million is sufficient to address the current issues.
Say that there's an argument that if the councils were amalgamated, this sort of situation wouldn't have happened, and that if you had a Hawke's Bay Council, it would be much smoother than this. Do you buy into that?
I'm certainly on the record as having supported amalgamation in the past, and I still support it now.
So you think it would be a much better system, especially for the outlying councils like Wairau and Central Hawke's Bay?
Look, I think those outlying councils and those communities need the support that the rest of Hawke's Bay can bring to them. They have issues that they simply can't afford by themselves. So however you achieve that, we have to work together. Personally, I think a couple fewer councils may be a good thing, but that's not on the table at the moment.
So what is on the table is more shared services and, as you say, more working together. Are you seeing that, or is there more that can be done?
Oh, look, I'm sure there's always more that can be done, but I think we do work pretty well together. Working across councils on future development strategy, climate action, regional transport. There's a number of areas that we already work very well right across the region. So and getting into the district council, maybe city council space around things like drainage and coastal protection and Three Waters. That's all our regional models for Hawke's Bay actually work pretty well.
Yeah. Speaking of coastal protection, recently there was a meeting of the Joint Committee which decided on a plan forward. Tell us a bit about that.
I can tell you a little bit about it. I came into it quite recently, just 18 months or so ago. Some people have been going since, I think, 2014, if not a lot before that. Look, I think the big picture is that after a lot of work with communities and a lot of consideration about who should lead that strategy, the view was that the regional council should lead the strategy development. So we have now a set of proposals for some protection for those coastal communities, the most vulnerable coastal communities between Clifton and Tānoio now. It's going to cost a lot of money if we do it, but our council is committed to going into a public consultation about the proposals to do the work and how it ought to be funded. So, and we're committed to that consultation with the community. We're not committed beyond that in terms of actions. There's a lot of, we're actually leading the country in this work around responding in terms of design works and funding for coastal protection. There's no easy answer. Someone has to pay, and they're very expensive. And we're talking about $35 million at the moment.
Yeah,
it's very challenging.
Yeah. Now, a lot of mayors and councillors that I speak to say that the system of local government is broken and that there needs to be more funding coming from central government. Would you agree with that sentiment?
I think that's pretty fair. I talk about the unfunded mandate, this idea that central government's been handing local government a whole bunch of extra duties over the years, but not the ability to fund them. And I think that's pretty fair. But I also say that central government has made it quite clear to local government that local government needs to do what central government's been doing and look at its costs. And there's no pot of gold that they're going to pass down to councils. Councils have been asking through the Councils Association, whose name escapes me for a minute, to get GST back and all kinds of stuff like that. This is not a government that's going to entertain those kind of ideas. We're going to have to find cost savings locally.
Because, I mean, the sort of rates that we are seeing in Hawke's Bay and around the country, sometimes up to 25%. I mean, 10 years ago, no one would believe that there would be rates of that high. I mean, it's not sustainable, surely.
No, it's not. You can't keep on putting up rates like that. The job has grown. It's got more complicated, and therefore it's got more costly also, particularly in the district councils have even more of a problem, arguably, than the regional does, in that the cost of construction works post Gabriel is just ballooned. So the cost escalation in construction is enormous.
Yeah. Now, recently the regional council found itself in what I can only describe as a rather unfortunate situation with the Hastings District Council, where you've got streams and that in Havelock North that you don't own, you don't maintain, but now you are having to sort of find money to bridge a shortfall. Do you think that was handled correctly by the council management and council, the chief executive, in terms of the negotiation with Hastings District Council?
I think everyone did a reasonable job in the circumstances, the best that could be done. Look, the basic problem was, and it's one of these knotty problems, that we organised a settlement package or a reconstruction package with the Crown, where the regional council is the lead agency, it's the doer. The assumption was that we are the doer for that. And that worked fine apart from the Havelock North streams, where in fact we didn't own the assets and we're not the doer. So all of the other assets for the rest of the $250 million settlement all related to regional council owned assets. The problem was just simply those assets that sit with Hastings District Council.
Yeah. Compared to some of your colleagues, you're a relatively new councillor. Are you enjoying the role?
I enjoy the challenge and the issues. Nobody signed up to a cyclone, and so the work we've been doing has been quite different. But I won't say ironically, but I signed up to work on water and climate change, and there's nothing more water and climate change than a cyclone. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, what are some of the other things that, apart from what we've spoken about, that you are pleased with what the council has done?
Look, I think the silt and debris work there. Whilst there's never enough money, I think we're up over the $100 million for money back into the community to help with silt and debris. So that is a success. It's a great success. But the failure, to the extent there is ever a failure with that one, it's that it would never be enough, and there will always be some people that will miss out. But that was a tremendous win for people, affected people of Hawke's Bay. Yep, that's the standout for me.
Yeah. And now the horticulture industry was affected, and you, as I say, you're a wine grower and you've got associations with that. How was the wine industry, local wine industry, affected, and have things got back to normal?
So we didn't lose a lot of area. There's something like 140 hectares of vineyard lost, and out of well over 4,500. So by area, our industry got off lightly. Individuals within that, it was devastating, and it was, So there are a lot of individual wine growers, who really felt the pain and still do. There has been a lingering effect. So more, at least as much of the effect on the wine industry in Hawke's Bay has been the sort of the lingering post-cyclone effect. I also think we have our challenges around cost of living as well, and changing drinking habits. So it's not an easy industry to be in, but I still enjoy drinking the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. And just briefly, the government announced a change to the RSC scheme, which will mean more RSC workers coming in. Is this still the best model, rather than getting the local people to work?
Oh, well, it's not a rather, it's an and. So look, all the RSC employers have to go to great lengths to take on Kiwis who want to work. We simply don't have the labour resources in Hawke's Bay to have a thriving horticultural industry, and particularly a thriving pip fruit industry, without the RSC workers coming in.
Yeah, and I ask this to every councillor: are you going to seek another term?
We'll find out when the ballot papers go out.
Okay. All right. Well, Xan Harding, thank you so much for your time. It's been good chatting to you, and I'm sure we'll touch base with you again soon.
Yep. Thank you, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.